I just know, like, for me this year, Christmas is going to be really difficult because that was mom's favorite, absolute favorite holiday. And it's as soon as Thanksgiving was over, she was out in the garage pulling in, all the Christmas boxes and all the little things to decorate. I mean, it would look like a Hallmark store threw up in the house.
And you should keep that.
So I think we're still going to do that to a degree. I am keeping up tradition because she would always buy a particular ornament for me, which she has been doing since 1980. So I have
Ooh, too many.
the Frosty and Friends Hallmark series of ornaments. But of course, this year I ended up going with some friends and bought the ornament.
You're gonna need a bigger tree with the
Oh,
old,
it has
because
its
you're
own tree.
getting up there in
It
age.
has
I'm
its
just
own
kidding.
tree. Let me tell you, it has its own tree. It has its own. But she was doing it for Connor too.
Right.
So I didn't want to like stop from him getting his. So, buying those ornaments, but knowing that this year they're not going to be like wrapped and in the stocking from her. And so it's going to be hard.
So my sisters kept the tradition because everyone would come over. Christmas Eve is bigger for me than Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister has continued that tradition and everyone goes over.
Oh.
So it's
And was
still,
that was something your mom would always
yes,
have? Oh, I
always.
like
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
your mom and I used to watch Hallmark movies
I
together.
know. I know.
That was our connection. That was our connection, me and your mom.
Yeah.
We both, that's why she liked me, because I loved
Yeah, because
Hallmark
you guys like the
Christmas
Hallmark
movies.
movies. I
There's
still, it used to drive me batshit crazy because I'm just like, it's so cheesy. And then, but now because we rearranged her room a little bit, but I still wanted it to have an essence of her. So some of her stuff from Virginia was brought out here, so it's in the room, pictures on the wall, rearranged it a little bit. But I have a place where I can go in because she liked to do puzzles and little crafty stuff. So there's a table in there. So I work on miniatures and the stuff I do on the side. And when I'm in there, I'll turn the TV on. And there's always like the whole list of all the Hallmark ones that are out and new ones that are out right now. So I'll put on one of the movies and work on something. And
The
the
Crown for Christmas.
I'm
It's my fave.
trying to remember. There's one that has Lindsay.
Corgis in it that your mom made me
Okay,
come and
no, but
watch
the
over
corgi
here.
one we were upset about because there weren't enough corgis in it. Okay, there needed to be a few more corgis. I mean, the Queen had more corgis than they did in that movie. But there's one that has Lindsay Lohan in it that is, and I'm trying to falling into Christmas. I might have the title a little bit wrong, but it's so adorable and cute. And I was trying to remember if mom and I had gotten to watch that one together. Because I think when I saw it, she wasn't here. And so I put that on recently and watched it and knew that she would be just like laughing and loving it. So that's kind of a thing I do every now and then is I'll go in there and put on the movie, work on some of my little crafts. And every now and then too, I'll sit and if I find a good book, because she liked her little small town Irish or English stories, the big city doctor that moves into the small town and ends up being loved by everybody, or some of her little mysteries that she liked. So if I see something I knew that she would enjoy, I go in and I'll sit and just read chapters in the room. It just kind of makes me still feel like she's there and
Yeah.
close, you know?
And you'll have those moments too, you know. It's amazing how so much of our parents are inside of us.
Hmm.
They really are like, I find like, oh my God, this is what my mother used to do or my father used to do. And I feel it. Or there's times where my mom would just be sitting there and she'd get all teary eyed for no reason. I'm like, and she wouldn't say what it was or whatever. And she was probably thinking about her mother. And like, I
Oh.
feel like I have those moments too,
Hmm.
like where I get those pangs of
Yeah.
whatever. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like they'll never leave us.
No. And I'm at that point where even if it makes me sad and I have to have like my moments of crying, it's a good feeling because there was a time before I was in that place that it was like I everything was making me think of her and I was just crying constantly and like I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't go to freaking Hobby Lobby or
Yeah.
Home Goods because that was our thing was going to those places to shop. So like I still would need to go and get stuff at the grocery store, but it was a harder trip to take because she wasn't there. Sometimes I would go get my groceries and find myself sitting in my car crying
Yeah.
after the fact. And I think when I started seeing other people's sharing stories of their loss, and then also meeting with people in person and having little groups, it was kind of like that kind of helped pull me out of that, where it was like, okay, let's look at the good part. What did I enjoy? And then one day I was in the grocery store and I passed those damn donuts that she was constantly buying. And the thought in my head was, I want to kick this display over so fucking bad right now and just knock them all over the floor. And then I ended up making myself laugh at my thoughts of
And
what
then
I
you bought a
wanted to do.
box.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. These are banned from my house from here on out. But it was just like those little moments then all of a sudden became more and more, and just, doing a home goods run and looking at stuff and just hearing my mom's voice in my head. Like, someone would actually buy that?
And you're going to find,
What kind of taste did
yeah.
that person have?
Well, when someone you know or someone that knew your mom years later will speak so highly of them and be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
your mom was so wonderful."
Yeah.
It's such a nice feeling to have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's not just you.
Yeah.
It's not just you who thought your mom was great. It was
Yeah.
a lot of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to like,
Yeah. You have to embrace those moments
yeah,
and enjoy that.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And kind of keep traditions. And because there's just so many little things, like I said, now that'll just make me think of her, but actually bring the smile to my face. Like, I was worried about the Hallmark trip with the friends to get the ornaments and stuff, but it was a nice memory. So it's like looking at the positive of the memories that we had that were in those moments is actually what helps, because it's like, because then I feel like part of her is with me
Right.
on the trip, you know?
Well, do you have trouble getting rid of something that was your mom? You're pretty neat and organized and clean, as opposed to me. I I had the phone that my mom had in her
Hmm.
house with her voice on it, and my mom,
Oh, you can't get rid of that
not an
though.
actress at all. This was the message. Hiya, you have reached. Like she's reading, and it's just like, oh my god, could you be a little more natural in your thing? But I kept that.
But now it's
And it
like,
was like sitting in my garage. It's been years and years. My sister's here and her husband, and we're going through things. I'm trying to clean things out, and it's so hard to part with that.
mhm.
It's like, oh, so I'm gonna keep this phone for the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
yeah, that's something you have to. I had to, going through my mom's closet of stuff. There were certain things, and I'm like, I don't need to have this many of the clothes, but the ones that I remember her wearing all the time that have those certain memories. And of course, some of them it still smells like her. So I'm just like, these stay. I mean, they always say you get to a point where you can slowly start letting more and more stuff go. I feel like I went through that like when my son was growing up. So when he was a baby, I kept everything. I had like 9 bins in my garage that were all his old baby stuff and cute stuff. And I went out there one day. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Not going to have another kid. Not happening. So we just needed. So now I have 1 bin of the really special stuff and that was just it. It's not that you have to get rid of stuff or do anything. You just do it in your own time, because I went from those 9 bins of baby stuff down to one of the really meaningful stuff. The
Right.
stuff that really was just like, I remember this, I remember that. Different things that were special, like this book that we would always read every night when he would go to sleep, or his first costume, which was a little goat when he was a baby, and all of this stuff that is really, really special. But like a bunch of the onesies I kept and shirts and pants, I'm like, I don't know why. Just I couldn't get rid of it in the moment
Right.
right after he had outgrown stuff and we were storing it. But now it's down like to one. And I feel like that's how it'll end up being with some of my mom's stuff. And I don't have a ton of stuff, but there's some of her dishware and it's not her china. The china is never going to go. But other stuff that were her daily dishes that we would always use at her home in Charlottesville. I shipped it out here. I don't need all those dishes, but I can't get rid of that
Right.
because those are our memories of sitting and having dinners together. And yeah, and just her coats and some sweaters, the stuff, her daily stuff that she would just wear all the time. So that's the stuff that's going to stay, and maybe that'll end up getting scaled down at a later time.
It's hard because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Going through my parents' house, married all these years and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and it's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister, I was like, "Oh no, you take it, you take it, you take it," and you hate getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, because
Um,
you feel like in a small way you're getting rid of stuff, and it feels like you're not really honoring your loved one if you're doing that because it was theirs, and in some small way getting rid of something that was theirs is gonna, take away from the memory and how you felt about them, and but it doesn't.
but you know what I'm learning? It doesn't.
Yeah, it
Like,
really
because we
doesn't.
have the
But
memories.
we have the memories, and as long as you hopefully have the photos and things to
Right.
look back on, that's what matters, because that's going to spark all of the, like, the feelings and the love, and oh yeah, I remember when we went on that trip and all of that. It's not necessarily the things,
Yeah.
but it is hard because for me, like with my mom's house in Virginia, it's just, I felt like this is her stuff, and what right do I have to get rid of her stuff, and what should I do with this? Like, should I try and sell it? But then part of me is like, then I feel guilty because am I profiting off of her death and not being here?
I'll take the
Try.
money. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like, but you're in that moment, and it's just it's a very difficult navigation journey.
It is. It's weird, and then as we get older,
Mm-hmm.
I start looking at things and be like, is this what my life amounts to? A yard sale? I had a friend, her dad just
Oh,
passed
but
away.
Connor got some great shoes from your yard sale.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad someone used them.
He wears those little tennis shoes all the time.
Oh,
The gray
good.
ones.
Yeah,
Every
yeah, yeah.
time I
I
see
love
him.
them. I wanted him to take a couple other
Oh, I thought you were going to
pairs.
say I wanted him to give them back.
I want them back now. No, no, no. But my friend, whose dad passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and a huge house, and the stuff just all in a yard, and it's like, oh my god, is this what our lives amount to in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Like a big garage sale with
Mm-hmm.
stuff that no one wants.
Well, it's the whole saying, like, you can't take it with you.
Exactly.
I love looking at properties and houses and things, and I'm like, oh, that would be so amazing. Then I start thinking practically, like, I hate cleaning, so
I
I
know.
don't want a bigger space to clean, and I don't want to have all that stuff because, it's going to go away somewhere because when we're not here.
I've got these two pictures that I've kept all these. These were in my grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking at the end of the 1800s, early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
A frame. One is like a round one with a bubble glass, and
Mm-hmm.
the photo is like really old. And another one is the wedding picture, a square one. Now, it's so old.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with it? The people are scary in them because it's like old country looking, where everyone stood like
Oh my
this
gosh,
kind of
I've
thing.
got to find the one that I had taken from my grandmother's house, because I bet you it's almost the same thing, because it was also even printed in the paper. It looks like half an eggshell. It's
Yes.
like an eggshell shape. So, and at some point, I don't know what happened because we didn't have the frame to it. So I don't know, but I'm just kind of like, who thought that was like a good thing? There
Well,
has
these
to
are
be some
big.
photographic explanation for that. But it was huge. It was like this big. And it's just, I have it in the garage
But what do
stored.
you do
But
with
it's
it?
an old picture of my grandma and her brother when they were little. Like, she was a baby. She was like maybe 1 or 2, and he was probably like 3 years old. And it's classic and somewhat creepy looking. But yeah, it's like, what do you do with those?
Yeah. And you don't want to get rid of them because
No.
they're so old.
Yeah.
But then, like, no one else in the family wants them. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
cousins don't want them. I keep, like, my sister, why don't you take them home? You can put it on your wall. It's not something you'd put on your wall.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're big framed pictures, and
You
it's
just end up having to store it.
forever and
Yeah.
ever.
Or make yourself a time capsule, bury it in your
Jesus.
yard. That way, when someone's going through it later in life, they're gonna be like, "Look at this."
Yeah. My grandmother, my mom's mom, died on my 10th birthday.
Aw.
Talk about a wonderful way to die. Um,
Okay, the fact that you just had all those words together in the same sentence.
no, like, she
Really?
was a very religious woman, went
Mm-hmm.
to church like every day of her life. Um, It was my 10th birthday, and she wasn't feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped at her house before I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Babshi's grandma in Polish. And
You
Babshi,
got all these really cool names.
yes,
Sasha and Babshi.
Babshi, you can have a piece of birthday cake.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I went to school, and my grandmother passed away that day. And how she died was she was in bed, and she called my mother up.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother came, and she goes, "I'm going to die today." My mother's like, "Ma,
Mm-hmm.
stop it." She goes, "No, I'm going to die. Call my cousin up, who was another old lady in her 80s kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and get the hour of death crossed out." So my mother gets the hour of death cross out. You light the candles, and you're holding it, and then her cousin, who was 80 something, comes over, and they were praying the rosary together.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother said to my mother, "Don't interrupt my death. I want to have a peaceful death." So my mother's freaked out. So my mother said she remembered going into the kitchen and grabbing a hand towel
Mm-hmm.
and just crying it because she didn't want. And she went on the
Oh,
porch. She didn't want,
she didn't want your grandma to
because she
hear.
didn't want to interrupt her death or whatever. And so they were praying the rosary, and my mom said that all of a sudden she stopped saying the words, and then she was mouthing the words, and then the hour of death cross fell out of her hand,
And she was gone?
and she was gone.
Wow.
It's freaking amazing. How, and as a little
How
kid,
old was your grandma?
80
Oh,
something.
wow.
Um, and as a kid, I'm like, well, how did she know
Uh-huh.
that? And, of course, would you tell a little kid, maybe an angel came and told her or something, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But what a lovely way for someone who is a religious person
Mm-hmm.
to pass away peacefully and
Mm-hmm.
calm like that.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. She was just, again, a very religious woman who was looking forward to passing to the life
Mm-hmm.
after this,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm horrified.
I was gonna say,
Maybe because I'm not such a good person. I don't know,
not
but
sure where you're going.
yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going. It freaks you out because you don't know
It's,
until
I
you
think it's,
know.
well, it's because people are scared of the unknown.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's going to come after. I mean, anything in life. When you don't know what's going to happen, like not having work and being unemployed, it's well, it's the fear of the unknown. Like, what's going to come next? What is going to be out there for me? Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos.